Welcome to today's Genshin Impact video. We'll be doing our best to give actually useful advice for players who are struggling to clear Imaginary Theater at its highest difficulty, Visionary mode. If you are new to Genshin Impact, Theater is one of two endgame content alongside Spiral Abyss and cycles on a monthly basis. Completing Theater's 10 acts on the highest difficulty includes a sizable first time clear Primogem bonus, alongside a monthly recurring reward of 800 Primogems. This translates to 5 free pools, a significant amount for F2B players where Primogems are hard enough to come by. As of December 2024, there's been 4 iterations of Visionary mode. After going through multiple playthroughs with various self-imposed handicaps like using the minimum number of characters, even while using a free-to-play account, I hope to provide insights into a generic plan that you can employ for the current and any future Theater game mode. The contents of the video will rely on the worst case scenario of having just enough characters, which means no blessing levels and bonus stats or flowers from the initial character selection. To get straight into it, the biggest bottleneck for new players will be meeting the logistical requirements to enter Visionary mode. A minimum number of 22 characters at level 70 or above is required. The only helpful advice that can be given is for a new player to change the MC, Traveler, to a relevant element, and to borrow one character that you do not own from your friend's supporting cast, that is, if you have any friends. It is a given that you should pick the most powerful character that you do not own and best complements your team building choices. Doing the above adds in 2 characters to help you fulfill the minimum requirements, so excluding the 6 fixed principal casts, you would only need to have 14 other characters, either fitting the elemental requirements or part of the special guest stars. If you still don't have enough characters, there is no shame in settling for a lower difficulty until you have increased your available team roster. Just make sure to budget resin and leveling materials to get them to 70 for the future. With regard to the builds on the characters, for those off-field characters that you have not worked on, the fastest way to bring them up to speed will be to stack available artifacts with energy recharge. Why ER? If you are intending to equip your characters in the laziest fashion possible, other attributes won't matter as much due to bonuses obtained from blessing levels, which we'll talk about later. Energy recharge allows for increased elemental burst uptime, which greatly improves the efficacy of rotations. This is extremely crucial for off-field elemental applications for 4-star support units like Corley, Xiangling, Xingqiu, Fischl, Lisa, and Keia. Simply use the fast equip option to filter out for sets like Gladiator's Finale or Wanderer's Troop, or other 4-star sets, which would have been obtained in the process of overworld boss kills. If you don't have the resources, it's perfectly alright if these artifacts are unleveled. Even artifacts at level 0 can potentially offer up to 20 to 25% more energy recharge, which can mean one less rotation to recover enough energy for a burst. For the less experienced, one good rotation typically also means a time save of up to 6 to 8 seconds, which is extremely significant. For those who would prefer more preparation, do your research on character builds and choose appropriate artifact sets that are relevant to the character's abilities. Otherwise, if you are short on artifacts or incredulously lazy, there's also the option to bring some characters completely naked, artifact-wise of course. The rest of the video will focus on gameplay execution. Broadly, the topics discussed will be as follows. The first will focus on the act clear requirement formats. The second, choosing fights and the character selection. Third, the use of Fantasia flowers. If you didn't already know, the clear requirements for rewards in Theater do not require obtaining the star. The star only serves a cosmetic purpose. Hence, if you refer to the table on screen, there are certain acts where you do not need your strongest characters to achieve clear requirements comfortably. Feel free to pause the video here if you need a longer look at the table. Acts 1 and 2 have no time limit, though a recurring Thunderstrike modifier is introduced after a set amount of time equal to the star clear requirement limit. These Thunderstrikes do fixed damage regardless of defense, strike every 2 seconds and increases through 5 tiers over 1 minute from 1600 to 8000 damage per hit. With well-timed dodges or iframes through elemental bursts, damage can be avoided, however, this limits combat ability. Nonetheless, this should effectively give additional time for a weak team to dole out the leftover damage necessary for a clear. Act 4 is a dedicated defense wave, which for most of the fights can be trivialized easily with crowd control units or drawing aggro from opponents and kiting them. The only requirement is to protect the monolith and prevent it from being destroyed in the given time frame. Defeating enemies accelerates the process, but is not mandatory to complete the event. Most players would want to avoid the high pressure defense event, as it can be challenging even for fully built teams. Use your rerolls if needed to obtain an easy event, and burn unwanted characters on this stage. The option to rewind can also be carried out if rerolls are unavailable, though it's probably best used in later acts rather than in the first half. Act 7 also has no time limit, however, the modifier is now a much more potent bleed effect that applies to all characters on the team and is unavoidable other than with burst iframes. While it is possible to outheal early stages of the bleed to buy extra time, this may not be sustainable depending on the characters you have available. Nonetheless, you can squeeze in a few extra seconds here to secure the clear with a weaker team if you are looking to save characters for the final and hardest acts. Don't forget that in the event of failure, the restart performance function allows infinite retries with the same or different team selection for a given combat act to achieve the clear you desire. Another quick tip is that for acts 5 and 9, you can end the event prematurely as long as you have achieved basic clear objectives. Now, for the choice of fights and character selections. If you are struggling to clear all 10 acts, you would want to avoid the elite assaults or high pressure defenses. Generally, if you are feeling confident, you can pick the elite assaults on acts 1 or 2. There is less time penalty if you need to restart at an earlier stage as opposed to using up rewinds after you have completed further than Act 3. The additional 20 Fantasia flowers you can obtain from completing these may allow you to obtain an additional buff or character early on, though it is not essential. It is more important to focus on choosing appropriate characters accordingly throughout each act. With 10 acts in Visionary mode, 40 Vigor will be used, which means that at least 20 characters will be fully used up. While occasional mystery and rare caches can appear to restore vigor to characters, it is not reliable due to the required RNG to get the desired character you have used up back into the playing field. For consistency, plan to use each of the 22 minimum characters you bring in at most twice. This means knowing when to burn undesired characters early in order to save better characters for harder acts later. Alongside the 6 starting principal casts and 9 additional characters from completing acts 1 to 9, an additional 7 characters have to be chosen with flowers to have enough vigor for all 10 acts. Given that acts 1, 2, and 4 are easier, it is hence logical to have a pool of weaker characters to choose from in the early stages. Budget strong characters, especially for the harder boss fights or villains on acts 6, 8, and 10. This is why you see in my playthroughs that I am often picking weaker characters in the early stages as opposed to meta picks. The game mode will typically generate more character selection options if you are running out of vigor to use. Getting the stronger characters later from the pool of alternate cast characters is essentially guaranteed if you are running with the minimum number of characters. From Act 7 onwards, make sure to check and count the number of alternate casts you have left, lest you spend too much flowers picking characters that you did not immediately need and would have been given for free anyway. Lastly, on the use of Fantasia flowers. As established earlier, you would want to pick companions as early as possible in the first few acts to increase your team roster. Theatre can sometimes be a pain, especially if your strongest characters are part of the 6 starting principal cast. Hence, you may choose to use your rerolls here to attempt for more characters early on. Do note that selecting one companion or blessing event also rerolls some of the other events, so only use rerolls when none of the options available are desired. It is not uncommon for 3 or even 4 of the principal casts to be fully depleted in the first 2 acts. To aid with team construction even in the intermediate stages, I would recommend for at least 3 companions to be selected with flowers by the start of Act 3. This costs for about 240 to 300 flowers. With some trial and error, even the most inexperienced will learn how to budget character selection to avoid depleting strong characters in the early acts. If the budget allows, having 1 or 2 of the level 1 blessings that synergize best with available characters can also aid a weak team significantly. Aside from the bonus effects listed, blessings also provide a stat bonus as shown in this table here. The buff is significant enough to bring even level 70 characters with no artifacts to a workable state. Stats like HP and defense are boosted disproportionately, which means that survival is not an issue. Attack and elemental mastery is also boosted, though not as significantly. The stat bonuses for the special guest stars or the off-element characters for the month are also boosted by twice as much, though in my experience this is more so to make up for the lack of synergy from blessing effects. You may recall earlier that I spoke of using energy recharge on low to no investment characters. While some of the electro-related blessings can provide bonus energy, it should not be fully relied upon. This premise, alongside the fact that blessings already buff other stats, is the reason why I recommend energy recharge as the lazy stat to build on characters that are not often used. Do note that blessings can sometimes trigger even without the element on the team. For example, one of the levels in the Hydro Animal blessing chain requires only healing and not a specific elemental interaction. By the end of Act 9, you should have enough flowers to have selected 7 or 8 blessings, ideally distributed among the 3 different elemental synergies. As for mystery caches and their rare variants, I would generally avoid relying on any of these as they introduce more uncertainty that can complicate a planned run. Bonuses like added rerolls or an expanded selection pool can be useful, and if you get lucky, one of them restores vigor to a relevant character already in the principal cast. However, more often than not, the choice of event is negligible or outright detrimental. An example would be the Cache Buff Companion Variable Cast, which completely removes the free character rewarded from act completions, screwing you over early on. Others, which allow used-up characters to rejoin the alternate cast, may end up diluting the pool of characters you can pick. The same logic applies for rare caches. The flowers used often do not justify the return on investment. Unless you feel like gambling, it is generally better to avoid picking them. Finally, the free bonus 25 flowers given by the external audience support is nice, but the conditions for triggering this is not well understood enough. Hence, to avoid the pain of relying on another random factor, a safe, consistent run would rely on planning with available characters and budgeting flowers without external support. In closing, Imaginarium Theatre, just like Spiral Abyss, can also be conquered with sufficient knowledge of game mechanics and strategizing. Thinking 2 steps ahead, reducing randomness, and avoiding pitfalls like using strong characters too early should enable success even for new free-to-play players. Knowing your character teams, your boss fights, their elemental compositions, and how best to budget Fantasia flowers should lead to a conclusive victory. I hope that this video has been useful to you. If you like my content, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any queries or criticism, feel free to leave a comment below. May you be blessed with 50-50 wins and good artifact RNG.